What if I told you you will never be clear until you let go of control? I have to let go of control to get clarity in my life? Jan, what are you saying? This is the quest for clarity, and we are questing today to let go of control. And it's been an interesting week for me because I have found that many of my clients are talking about control this week, and I'm not actually sure why. I don't know. Sometimes it just kind of happens in that way of cycles. And everyone that I talk to, or many that I talk to, seem to be struggling with the notion of, struggling, I was going to say, with the notion of letting go of control in their life, but really they would prefer to have more control in their life. And I think that that's a challenge. I know that many of you are thinking, well, Jan, isn't wanting or having control in your life a good thing? Let's talk about it and see what comes up. Because here's what I mean. You all know, because we've had this conversation before, we've talked a little bit about this, that I really don't believe, and I know you don't either when you think about it, that we can control other people. You cannot control the way other people think. You cannot control the way other people act. You cannot control the way other people feel. You can only control the way you feel, act, think. You can only control your own thoughts and emotions. Can you influence people's behavior? Sure, you can. Particularly if those people, maybe you work with those people, or you're in a relationship with those people, you're close to them in some way, so you can influence their behavior. But in the end, if you think about it, and I hope you will, I know that you will discover for yourself that you cannot really control them. So why do we try? Oh my goodness, we all do. Don't kid me. Don't try and kid yourself, and don't try and kid me, because we've all done it. Gosh, I remember, and it could have been a long time ago, but I remember trying to do it as well. You had that partner, that person you were dating back in high school, and you couldn't understand why they did this or that or the other thing, and you tried to control them, and you kind of tried to figure out how to do that. And then maybe you tried to control something at work where you wanted to shift your direction or the trajectory of a project, and it just gets hard, doesn't it? You try to clamp down on what other people are doing or feeling, and it never works. It's simply not sustainable. Now, you might have some influence for a while, but at some point it will break down, because the other people in this equation are the variables. Can you control a project at work that's maybe an event, or numbers and statistics, or an event that you're planning, or a project that you're unfolding? You can control the timing. Yes, of course. However, to control people is a whole other ballgame. And that's what we're talking about here. We cannot control other people because they have a different perspective. They have a different set of beliefs. They have a different outlook, and they have a different end goal, right? Where they are going is not necessarily where you are going. What they believe about themselves is not necessarily what you believe about them. So I'll say it again, you can try to control, but in the end, it is not sustainable. Let's talk a little bit about where control comes from. So why, if we know that, and I think if you sat down and you really thought about that, and maybe you looked at the examples in your life, or the past relationships in your life, or maybe the influential relationships in your life, or the serious relationships, we'll call them. If you looked at those relationships, you would probably say to yourself, maybe I did try and do a little controlling there, but it didn't work out. In the end, that person kind of did what they wanted, or I felt bad, or they felt bad, right? So the question is, well, why do we try to do it? Well, I think that's fairly obvious. In some situations, we want to manipulate the outcome, Jan. Really? Obviously, we want what we want. And we want them to behave in a particular way. Why? Because I want them to make me happy. I want them to do what I want because I want it. I want them to do things my way because that makes me comfortable. I want them to behave in that manner rather, because it makes me feel safe in my own life, makes me feel supported. Oh, okay. So just so I'm getting this straight, you want to control people so they will behave in a way that makes you feel better. Am I getting this? Do I need to say that again? Probably not, because you know that it's true. Yeah, you want to control other people's behavior because it makes you feel better. So if your partner isn't respectful to you, you want to control that behavior, to shift that behavior, to mold that behavior so they respect you and you feel better about yourself. You want to control the behavior of your work colleague or the emotions of your work colleague, because when they're a little bit volatile at work, well, it makes your job harder. So you want to control them. Am I getting this? Now, you can look at any aspect of your life, or maybe many aspects of your life, and you can say, oh gosh, yeah, maybe I am trying to do that, Jen. You might be right. Maybe I am trying to control people's behaviors and it's not really working out very well for me because I still don't really feel much better. Yeah. Would you like to know what will make you feel better? Trust. Yeah, trust. See, you can't control other people's behavior because in the end, you maybe can for a time. I don't know. Maybe you can to some degree. We can, again, influence, but at some point, people will do what's best for them, right? People will do what they need to do. People will vary and change and grow. And what you have to recognize is that you'll be okay. You have to recognize that you'll get through this. You'll get to the other side and you'll be okay. Let me give you an example. So say for example, you want to control a relationship. That's a big one for many people, right? For many people, they want to control the behavior of their partner or their significant other, and they don't understand why that's not possible. So they create, how do they do that? Well, they create limits, meaning curfews, right? You can't go out with this person. You can't go out with those people. I don't want you to go out with a group of friends because it makes me uncomfortable. I have to come along. You can't get messages from these people, or maybe I don't know, you get the idea, right? Those sorts of parameters that you put in place to try and box someone in, right? To try and control them, to set a fence. And why are you doing that? Well, I don't want my partner to go out with those people because it makes me feel insecure. I don't want to allow my partner to hang out with their friends or go on that trip when I'm not included because I'm not really sure what's going on and that makes me feel uncomfortable. I feel jealous or insecure or out of control. And so what it all comes down to is, of course, how you're feeling. And I need you to know, and you need to hear this, that they can't make you feel any better about you. Only you can do that. They will never be able to behave in the perfect way or behave consistently in the perfect way or morph into something that you need so that you feel better. You have to do that. That's the end of that, I'm afraid. You have to do that. You have to get clear on what it is that you need, on what it is that you want, and you have to go find that for yourself. You have to find that confidence for yourself. You have to know that if my partner, in this example, if my partner doesn't behave in a particular way, if my partner does something that I don't particularly like or can't support, or if my partner leaves, maybe, then I have to know that I'll be okay on the other side. And when you realize that, when you come to that understanding, when you come to that place of knowing, of clarity that says, I'm okay. I am self-sufficient. I am strong enough. I am confident enough. I am enough. When you come to that place, well, it doesn't matter quite so much what your partner does, and you will begin to loosen the control or just let it go. Now, I'm not suggesting that you'll suddenly find that I am enough and you'll not want to be with anyone. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting is that then the tension between you changes, right? Because you recognize that I care for this person, I love this person, but I cannot control them. I cannot make them behave in a particular way. I can love me and I can love them, and if they choose in this relationship to do the same thing, well, then now we've got something, don't we? But if they don't, and if it's not appropriate for them, or they can't grow in a way that we're growing together, well, I'll be okay. And I will find someone who I can do that with. And oh, let me tell you, that is a place of confidence. That is a place of inner knowing. That is a place of clarity. And it sounds, I get that it sounds simple because so many of these concepts really are, until we dissect them and we become aware of what we're actually doing. Because so many of us look outward, right? So many of us look outside of ourselves to be happy, or look outside of ourselves to be fulfilled. And I'm telling you that the fundamental lesson of clarity is to find that within you. And once you figure out that, okay, I know who I am, I know what I want, and listen to this please, I know what I deserve, well, it starts to happen. It starts to happen, and you will be less invested. You will be less, what's a good word? Sometimes it's a desperation, isn't it? You desperately want the people in your life to be the same or not change, because if they change, you have to change. Well, imagine if you were confident in who you are, then that wouldn't matter, would it? You could allow them and say, go, be you, do you, because that's what I'm doing. And maybe together we'll find something really cool. Relationships are brilliant. Relationships, intimate relationships, or just close personal relationships, whatever you find yourself in, are a brilliant place to learn about you, to learn about yourself. And I think that that's why we come together, right? We come together in these close ties, if you will, and we learn so much about ourselves because the stakes are high. We're really invested. And I can tell you, if you begin to trust yourself, if you begin to know that you will get to the other side, it will make a huge difference in the way you are in a relationship. Think of it kind of like this. Imagine that you're wanting to cross a river, right? Imagine that you're standing on one side and you're looking across at the other side and you're thinking, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to do that? Well, what can I control? Can I control the flow of the water? No. Can I control the speed with which the water is moving? No. Can I control some rocks? Suddenly get some rocks to pop up out of the water so that I can cross? Well, no, not so much. Okay. Well, you have to trust that a couple of things. Maybe you could find a bridge, I suppose. You could walk a little bit further. Or you could trust that you're a good enough swimmer, that you know how to swim, that you're confident in your ability to swim, you're confident in your strength to swim, and you set out across that water and you make it to the other side. I get it's a simple analogy. It really is. It really is very simple, but it comes down to trust. I trust that I will make it across. I trust that I have the skill. I trust that I have the strength. I trust that I have the ability. I trust myself. And if that means that I have to be alone for a little while because I'm swimming across the river and getting stronger, well, that's okay. That's okay. Do you get this? Does it make sense to you? And I know if any of you have ever been maybe through a divorce or a separation or a breakup of a family, I know you get this. And I'm talking about personal relationships, but it absolutely, all of the talk that we're talking about control absolutely applies to work as well, or to relationships with yourself, really is what it is. But if you've been through a divorce, for example, there comes this point. It's an upheaval. It's a major upheaval, and it's akin. Many psychologists say it's akin to someone dying, right? Because you've gone from this tight relationship, this close relationship, this maybe dependent relationship, emotionally and financially and physically, and you pull it apart, right? It breaks apart, and it's like a death, and you have to go through a process. And so those of you who have been through it, and even those of you who haven't, you can hear this and relate to it. You get to a point, you're sad and you're angry and you're frustrated and all of those emotions are happening, but all of a sudden, and somehow it seems to happen, it feels like all of a sudden, it's not of course, but it feels like suddenly there's a shift. And something in you says, I'm going to be okay. And there is a knowing. There is a confidence. There is a strength that says, I am going to be okay. And that is clarity. And that is the moment when you let go of control. You let go of trying to control that other person. You let go of trying to control the situation. And everything just flows better. Now, I'm not suggesting to you it miraculously fixes itself, but you will find that all of a sudden there is more ease, and there is more flow, and there is more clarity. It really is an extraordinary moment when you begin to trust yourself. And you begin to trust yourself when you recognize that you can only control you. Do you need to hear that again? You can only control you. Your emotions, your thoughts, your actions. So do a great job of that. Do a great job of all three of those things, and you will find that you will get more and more clear about who you are and who you want to be as you move through the world. And you know what happens after that? Well, what happens after that is you start to attract people who are aligned with that. And you don't even need to think about controlling those people because they just fit, right? Whether it's work or personal, they just fit. So what do you do? Well, you begin in the moment when you find yourself thinking, why can't I get him to? Why can't I get her to? Why can't I get them to do this, feel that, say this? In that moment, I would ask you to go, oh, here I am again. I'm pointing the finger and saying that person needs to change so I feel better. And I want you to think in that moment. I get it, it's hard. It comes with practice. You have to be aware. I want you to think in that moment, okay, what could I do to make myself feel better? Still has to be healthy, still has to be kind, okay? Still has to be mature. You have to, all of those parameters have to be followed. But what could I do in that moment to make myself feel better? And sometimes it's walk away and take a breath, and that's okay. So the key, awareness. Begin today to recognize when And in what moments are you trying or wanting, maybe even just wanting to control other people's behavior? Let it go. Let it go. And pay more attention to how you feel. Why is it that I'm feeling this way? Why am I allowing myself to feel this way? And you'll begin to move forward. I promise you will. That is our quest for today. Our quest for trust, and our quest for freedom, and our quest for clarity. I'm Jan Bailey. I am so happy to have these conversations with you, and it would be great if you would rate the podcast. I hope that you will share my podcast with someone that you think might be interested, and please subscribe, because I look forward to these and I look forward to sharing more conversations with you. We will see you next time.